the Afternoon Locker Room Facebook page. This portion is brought to you by LaPorte County Life at LaPorteCountyLife.com. Have you heard the good news? Also in part by Subway. Subway, eat fresh. Soccer action in full effect. We have some soccer scores. Iki over Valladolid 1-0. Atlético and Hospitalet 2-2. Athletic leading Alcoyano at the break 1-0. Malaga and Deportivo 0-0 at the break. Women's basketball coming up tonight. A pair of top 25 games here. Number 19, Oklahoma State is at Weber State. Number 10, Louisville travels to Grand Canyon out in Phoenix. Take a look at their scoreboard from last night. In the top 25, number 21, Mississippi State remains undefeated. 66-51 over Louisiana Lafayette. DePaul, number 25, crushes crosstown rival Loyola 109-84. Number 7, Stanford gets upset. This time by Chattanooga, 54-46. 13th ranked Duke, no such thing with Oklahoma, 92-72. Top-rated South Carolina. Let me repeat that again. Top-rated South Carolina remains undefeated, 69-49 over Hampton. And number 3, Texas, also still undefeated, 76-59 over McNeese State. Short docket tonight for the ladies. Number 10, we mentioned Louisville is going to take on Grand Canyon. Number 19, Oklahoma State is at Weber State. Back to Major League Baseball. Some more hot stove action going on. The Kansas City Royals still in the midst of adding some folk. A 2-year, $20 million contract with right-hander Edison Volquez. They also add another flavor in the mix. Right-hander Chris Medlin has a 2-year contract with a mutual option for 2017. Medlin was 15-12 last year with a 3.11 ERA for Atlanta. More on the hot stove. The A's required left-hander Yuri De La Rosa from the Arizona Diamondbacks for cash. Former Major League outfielder Niger Morgan is heading to South Korea to continue his baseball career. He signed with the Hanwha Eagles for $700,000. The 34-year-old debuted with the Pittsburgh Pirates and hit .282 in under 600 games for 4 Major League ball clubs. He last played this season for Cleveland before spraining his ankle on May 14th, but then was activated August 5th and released. On to the steroid front. A South Florida man who admitted working as a black market chemist has pled guilty to federal charges stemming from the Major League Baseball scandal over performing enhancing drugs. 51-year-old Brazilian citizen Paulo Berejuk, who has permanent U.S. residency, pled guilty to conspiracy to distribute testosterone. Investigators say Berejuk was the key source of the substance for Anthony Bosch, who ran the now-closed Biogenesis of America clinic that provided steroids to MLB players and other athletes. Now, Berejuk faces a reduced prison sentence of between 2 and 3 years because of his, of course, cooperation with prosecutors. He could also be deported back to Brazil after prison. In addition, Berejuk agreed to forfeit to the government a 32-foot Intrepid boat. Wow. Berejuk does admit in a court document that between 2007 and 2013, he supplied between 5 and 10,000 units of banned steroids to Bosch and others involved in a conspiracy, including the owner of another clinic being Jorge Velasquez. Bereshit was paid up to $20,000 a month for his work. Of course, one of the people that was snagged in the conspiracy is about to come off a suspension, that being New York Yankees player Alex Rodriguez, who spent this season on the sidelines. So the house of cards are slowly but surely falling in the testosterone case with Bosch. Meanwhile, one person that was also hit with a suspension for performance-enhancing drugs has now been cleared to use the stuff he needs for his ADHD, that being Baltimore Orioles slugger Chris Davis. He got suspended for 25 games last year for testing positive for amphetamines and has received clearance to use the Adderall drug in the 2015 season. That's according to manager Buck Showalter of the Baltimore Orioles. So good to see that come to a conclusion. The next couple of weeks or months could be huge in relations between the U.S. and Cuba, with Barack Obama, the President of the United States, and Raul Castro, President of Cuba, slowly but surely reformalizing trade relations. It could mean the end of the embargo that has been in place since John F. Kennedy was president in 1961. That's some 53 years, which could also mean easier travel between the U.S. and Cuba, which is 90 miles away, which may also mean you could see another influx of Cubans, only this time they won't have to go in a raft boat a la Yasiel Puig. They actually could come here freely and try to play baseball. We'll just have to see what happens between now and then. Off the field, Hideki Matsui will team up with former New York Yankees teammate Derek Jeter to hold a baseball charity event to support children affected by the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in his native Japan. Matsui, the 2009 World Series MVP, attended a press conference in Tokyo to promote the event that will come up next March 21st at the Tokyo Dome. Matsui said, "Derek will make an enormous contribution to this event. He is a tremendous human being and was a great teammate, and I'm sure the kids will be thrilled to see someone of his stature." Now, the event's going to include over 600 participants, including a group of baseball players from the Tohoku region that was devastated by the March 11th, 2011 disaster that killed 16,000 people. Among the activities, a baseball clinic, a home run derby between Matsui and Jeter, who had just retired this year after 20 years with the Yankees. The Afternoon Locker Room, presented by Gigahertz. This portion brought to you by Sowers Ford of Michigan City, Northwest Indiana's newest Ford, and Lincoln Mercury dealer. Time for our topic du jour, brought to you by Strack and Van Til Grocery Stores of Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. This past week was another opportunity for people to gain access to buy another edition of the iconic Air Jordan shoes. And as in years past, the opportunity to get the access to buy the shoes has created some chaos. Case in point, in Chicago alone, there were numerous fights at one particular Foot Locker where people were lined up just to get tickets, not the shoes, tickets to buy the shoes, which won't be available till next week. Over the years, we have seen incidents of violence and, in one case, broad daylight robbery. When another set of the Jordans had arrived at a store in Houston, people were lined up during the wee hours of the night. They were robbed at gunpoint of their money because they had put themselves in a rather not so good position to be a part of this event. You see, the robbers know anytime Jordans come out, a whole gang of people are going to be out, which means a bunch of money is going to be in one spot, which means if they're cunning enough, they can make one big sweep. Now, there was an instance of somebody who tried to rob folk trying to get Jordans. I believe it was last year sometime. They actually have this on tape. And they beat that boy like he was about to steal something. But that's one of the rare times you've seen anything like that happen. My question is this as we get set to leave out of here. What's all the hype about? It's just a pair of sneakers. I don't see anybody doing this over Kobe's. I don't see anybody doing this over LeBron's. Heck, I didn't see anybody doing this over Iverson's. Only Michael Jordan. I find that interesting. Could it be that everybody in this generation who hadn't seen what people regard as the greatest basketball player to ever play to get a piece of history? Because, as of late, a number of the shoes that Michael Jordan actually wore during his playing days were back up for sale, which has caused an even bigger furor in urban America. But people, this is just a pair of sneakers. And if you dig deeper into this, they're not even made in the USA. Yeah, they're made overseas. Cheaply. But they look good. And Jordan, especially now with his Jordan brand, raking in serious dough. Why? Because for whatever reason, the mystique of wearing a pair of Jordans seems to outweigh the sneakers themselves. That's probably what's wrong with us. It's not so much that we need sneakers. We need to be told we look cool. Well, I'm sorry, but in the words of one rhythmic American poet, Chuck D, who I don't think even wore a pair of Jordans himself, 4 simple words. Don't believe the hype. Because that's all it is. Folks, that does it for this edition of the Afternoon Locker Room. Alvin Washington vacating the premises. The Afternoon Locker Room has been brought to you by Gigahertz, and that's where we come in. Guests on the Afternoon Locker Room are brought to you courtesy of the Verizon Wireless Hotline. Verizon Wireless and the cellular connection in Michigan City. Proud to bring you aboard America's most trusted 4G LTE network. We'll do it up again tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. as we are now under